This week I was found guilty on 3 counts of contempt of court by 2 judges. There was no jury to find me guilty. 2 appointed judges. As I sat in court, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Both judges found me guilty because they believed I breached a reporting restriction on a Muslim child gang rape trial. They also came to the conclusion that me photographing Muslim child rapists while asking them simple questions before they entered court for their verdicts created anxiety for the poor Muslim paedophiles that I'm now to be punished with the full might of the British judicial system. My name is Tommy Robinson. Today I'm calling on the help of Donald Trump, his administration and the Republican Party to grant me and my family political asylum in the United States of America. I'm sat here today before you to make my case of political persecution. I have been found guilty of what is the equivalent of exercising First Amendment rights. Benjamin Franklin had the foresight to know this. Whoever would overthrow the liberty of a nation must begin by subduing the freeness of speech. For more than 10 years, I've been proactive voice, highlighting in the industrialised grooming, the pimping, the beating and the raping of young, vulnerable British girls up and down the length and breadth of my once great country. Successive British governments have sought to silence me, to persecute me. And for what? Trying to stop vulnerable young girls from being sex slaves to gangs of predominantly predatory Muslim men who drugged them, raped them and beat them for years. I have tried and I'll continue to try to get the British government to take action and stop the systematic child abuse that's still going on right now as we sit on screen. These young victims of Muslim rape gangs have been let down so badly. It started at the very top of the Labour-controlled government under Gordon Brown as Prime Minister. The stories are harrowing, disturbing, upsetting. Believe me, I've sat down and I've cried my eyes out as I've sat and heard the stories from victim after victim and family after family. Let me outline to you what has happened in the second trial for contempt of court. The original verdict was appealed due to unfairness and no due process. There were no charges of prejudice in the case or potentially collapse in the trial as the media continued to push out. They originally tried to bring those charges last year but had to remove them as it's been proved in court twice that nothing I said in my live stream could have prejudiced the jury. One charge was for breaching a reporting restriction. The other 2 charges were for photographing the defendants whilst entering court and, according to the judge, aggressively questioning them. Both of these acts the Attorney General and the government have claimed could have made these poor Muslim child rapists feel anxious and therefore not able to participate in their trial. This is despite the fact the trial had already finished. They had nothing to participate in. The trial had finished, the jury had retired to decide their verdict, which all came back as guilty. I just want to show you now so your American audience understand. Let's look at the anxiety charges first. Let me show you what I actually said outside Leeds Crown Court. I'm at Leeds Crown Court where these men here, let me see. Right lads, how you feeling? How you feeling about your verdict? How you feeling about your verdict? How you feeling about your verdict?
What verdict?
How you feeling about the verdict? You got your prison bag for you?
Yeah, look at you.
Got your bags for you? You got your bags for you?
Yeah.
How you feeling about the verdict?
Oh, suck your mum's funny.
You got no guilt. Is there any guilt? Is there any guilt, mate? Is there any guilt?
Fucking dad. You're son of a bitch.
What, mate? How you doing, alright?
Your wife's a prostitute.
My wife's a prostitute. My wife's a prostitute.
Really?
How you doing, mate? What are you in court for today, if you don't mind me asking?
I've been seeing your mum.
What, you've been seeing my mum? Another comment about a woman. What are you in court for, mate? How's the trial gone? How's the trial gone? Yeah, how's the trial gone? We just... How's the trial gone, bro?
I'm the one in court.
You're the one in court, yeah? Why is he carrying your bag then? Anyway. Another comment about your mum. That's every single alleged person who's walked into... Cheers, mate, thanks. Every single alleged person who's walked into court today has made sexual references about women. What's it? Which one? Oh, mate, what are you in court for?
Fuck yourself.
What's that? What are you in court for?
What?
Come on, mate.
Why did you just touch him?
This is the verdict. So the trial's ended, the jury are making their mind up, and this is the verdict. This is the verdict today.
talk to you a quick 2 minutes with you, is that all right?
Are you going to arrest me?
My colleague's going to explain what's going to happen next, right?
Am I being arrested?
You are being arrested.
I am being arrested.
Causing a breach of peace.
Of course,
Of
course, a breach of peace. I'm being arrested.
But the content of what you're
Can we just say
streaming.
The content of what I'm streaming, I'm being arrested for breach of the peace. I'm being arrested for breach of the peace. You've all watched this. You've all watched this. You've all watched this. You've all watched this. Can you get me a solicitor? Can you get me a solicitor?
Can you just turn off your live feed?
Can you get me a solicitor?
Turn off your live feed, please.
Yeah?
Do you understand what I've just said to you?
Well, no, can you explain it again?
Causing a breach of the peace.
What does that mean? What does that mean, officer? What does that mean, officer? What does that mean, officer? What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean?
I've been told that from the feed you're doing on your Facebook.
Well, Tommy Robinson is a hero across the UK and Europe and here. And he's just a mainline guy that exposed. He owned a business, a tanning salon, and right next to it there were Muslim grooming gangs with little girls. He's like, hey, mate, what are you doing putting little girls in guys' cars? You're obviously pimping them. Who's your daddy? They started threatening Tommy. Tommy stood up to him, reported him, got put in prison for fighting back. He fights back. He's been attacked by Antifa. You've seen all the videos of them attacking him in public. He fights back. Antifa, the Islamists, all of it. This is only an 8-minute segment, longer segment coming up. Tommy, you just showed the first exhibit of why they're sitting in a prison, daring to talk to guys who you were polite to. They insulted your family. Just greasy thugs who were convicted of grooming children for the sex traffic. And of course, they gave them light sentences. You've talked about it all. This is another reason you need Trump. You're asking for Trump. We'll get to this. We'll get to the U.S. Code, 22 U.S. Code 6401, findings and policy, that you are a prime candidate as a journalist to get political emergency asylum, but you're being sent to prison Thursday. Please continue.
I've had a few people message me saying that I seem tense. It's because I am tense. I feel like I'm 2 days away from being sentenced to death in the UK for journalism. Let's be clear. The video you just watched, the questions I asked them as follows. All right, lads, how are you feeling? How are you feeling about your verdict? All right, mate, how are you doing? Are you all right? Hello, mate, what are you in court for today, if you don't mind me asking? How's the trial gone, bro? As you can see, I was actually very polite, despite some of the disgusting abuse that was thrown my way. By claiming that these questions were in any way aggressive. Not claiming, he said that, he skipped this in his summing up, the judge has said my aggressive questioning. The judge has had to say that, and the prosecution have simply lied in court, in open court, in order to back up their ridiculous charge of causing the defendant's anxiety. Now, these monsters have previously been kidnapping and raping young children in gangs for years, in full view of everyone, including social services, the police forces. Everyone knew it's happening. They don't sound like the anxious type to me. If these men were anxious, it's because they were facing a court case. They're all now subsequently doing 15 years in prison. They were facing a court case. They knew they were guilty. They'd raped dozens of young children. Yet somehow me asking them a simple question as a journalist, I'm now being convicted for causing them anxiety. One of them pushed me in the chest, told me to go fuck myself. I simply said, all right, mate, what are you in court for? The other three child rapist monsters coincidentally all made disgusting and vulgar sexual references about female members of my family. One thing's for sure, none of them looked remotely anxious. According to the Attorney General and the judge, I was aggressive. And in the words of the prosecution, I molested them as they entered court. No joke, this is what they said in court. Molested them. These are the guys that have molested and raped children for a decade. The Attorney General, and actually in their prosecution, said that these men must be free to go and come from court without fear of molestation. The reality is, with 16 child statements, witness statements, they shouldn't have been free to come and go from court at all. They should have been on remand. Let's have a look at me now. You've seen the footage that I have just been convicted of. You've seen the footage. Let's have a look at the footage of me entering the Old Bailey for this trial. Let me show you this now.
Tommy Robinson, are you planning going to face justice for potentially collapsing this trial?
I didn't potentially collapse any trial. I'm actually not in charge. I'm not on trial for potentially collapsing a trial. My charge is causing anxiety to the men walking into court by putting cameras and asking them questions. Exactly what you've just done to me is what I face contempt of court for. Exactly this. Do you think this is causing me anxiety? Look at your actions. That's what I'm facing trial for. I didn't act this way. This is a facade. The whole public know that. That's why the public are here to support me. No, I didn't nearly collapse. That's a lie. You're lying. You're lying. I didn't nearly collapse. The judge's words in that case, nothing I said could have caused prejudice to jury. Nothing. That's the judge's words. That's the judge's words. Read the transcript. Do your job as a journalist. Do your job as a journalist.
Were you in contempt of court?
No, I wasn't. That's why I was released from prison. The whole case was unlawful. Now, this is politically motivated persecution by a government who want to silence me. That's what this is.
What do you think about the fact they brought these charges back?
I think it tells everyone the fact. Look at what's happening here. Can you see this? Look, I'm in court for causing them anxiety. Look at all these cameras. Look at all these journalists.
Stunning footage. Tommy Robinson is hosting the show. He's about to take back over again. This is the Alex Jones Show. He's doing a direct appeal to President Trump for a journalistic asylum because the UK is now a police state. If you're a radio listener, these are dozens of cameras and people pressed around him, pressing in on him, saying he's a bad person as he goes in for the kangaroo court to be convicted of talking to people that were convicted in the street. And he says, I've been convicted for what you're doing right now. And they just look at him with hate because these aren't media. These are authoritarian lapdogs. This is how far the UK's fallen. Back to your statement, my friend.
As you can see, that was me on my way into court, just like the Muslim child rapists on their way into court. Lucy Manning, leading BBC political broadcaster. She blocked my path, along with multiple other journalists and media cameramen. She was far more aggressive in her line of questioning. She even assumed my guilt. Now you're finally going to face justice. That was her words. She assumed my guilt. I'm not saying anything she's done there is wrong. I'm saying that is robust journalism. That's what we're witnessing. That's all I done.
Well, what she is a collaborator with the Islamists, and she's got a job to throw your ass in prison. It's the BBC that famously is always covered up for pedophilia. That's their known thing. So she's told, you go stop him. Please continue.
Even Alex, on Thursday, for the first day of my trial, every single newspaper published a picture of me in court. Every single one of them. According to the Attorney General, that is now contempt of court. We played that video of Lucy Manning in court as evidence, along with many other videos, such as Rolf Harris being pretty much crushed by the press on his way into court. The judge and prosecution completely ignored the fact that every other newspaper and journalist questions and photographs defendants entering court every single day across my country. But in my specific case, the Attorney General has decided for the first time in British history that when Tommy Robinson politely questions the now convicted Muslim child rapists, it amounts to contempt of court, and it could have interfered with the court proceedings by leaving the defendants in an anxious state of mind. I knew the entire system was corrupt when the judge unbelievably agreed with the Attorney General. This has effectively set a precedent. Questioning any defendant is contempt of court. Will you ever see another journalist arrested and prosecuted for asking questions or photographing a defendant entering court? Of course you won't. The Attorney General spent 5 months trying to invent something they can fit me up with, and therefore this will be a complete one-off, designed solely to fit up Tommy Robinson.
Tommy, stay there. When you come back, I want you to do your appeal directly to the president, but I want to be clear here. TV viewers can see all this. Radio listeners can hear it. It's so shocking. I think you're wrong, though. They're setting the precedent for everybody to be arrested who is a patriot, who's in the media. What they're really doing is outlawing journalism. And you haven't told people yet how they send Antifa to your house. They send the Muslims to your house, saying they're going to acid attack you, threatening your family. This is your young children, your wife. You need to get out of there, and you're asking President Trump for emergency journalistic asylum. You are the textbook case for it. What is your direct appeal about what you're facing, your family's facing, and why you need him to give you emergency asylum, which I think there's a very good chance we can get him to do. It also exposes how corrupt the UK's gotten. So your upfront message to Trump.
President Trump, the American government, Britain has fallen. Even yourself, if you was in Britain, you would be arrested and tried. You would be tried because Sadiq Khan would demand it. The political pressure that has been put on the judiciary system would be the similar pressure that would be put on for yourself. I'm an English man, a British citizen who loves my country, and it hurts me to have to say I have no future here. The only future that lies for me is death. Death at the hands of an establishment who will feed me to Islamic gangs of jihadis within the prison system. I have 48 hours before my sentencing. I previously spent 3 months on solitary confinement for journalism, for breaking no law. The reality is, and I urge you, please, get your lawyers to look through this case. You will expose and see complete corruption. I'm being found guilty when I've broke no laws. I've not been tried by my peers. 12 members of the British public, that's the Magna Carta. That's common law. Common law is if members of my peers, if the British public find me guilty, I'd accept my fate. I'm not being tried. This is a backdoor ruling in order for the government to silence me, imprison me, and inevitably have me killed. I'm a father of three with 3 beautiful children and a wife, and a beautiful wife. Last time I was in prison, the police went to my family's home to tell them, and they had intel that there were going to be acid attacks against them. They went to my wife, they went to my mother. They're going to take me away and leave my family vulnerable. My crime? Awakening the British public to the mass problems from open border immigration, importing a culture of dominance and violence. And see, the globalists don't want the public to be aware of this. They don't want people to understand the problems that come with their utopia vision for our world. I've spoke out. I've laid my life. I'm saying to you, I want to keep on fighting, but I can't fight it because I'm going to be killed. And as a journalist, as a British citizen, I beg you, I beg Donald Trump, I beg the American government, just look at my case. If you look at my case, you will see the wrongdoings. When I tried to fight this case, this is the corruption in this country. The QC, the Queen's Counsel who was representing me, told me to do a deal. And then I was told he didn't want a black mark on his name for fighting my case. That's his job. But he wouldn't fight my case to understand the level of political correctness that has infected this once great nation. We are imprisoning journalists, and our media celebrate it. I'm being imprisoned for asking a convicted paedophile, how do you feel about your verdict? That is the reality. My conviction for causing anxiety? This is even before. I want to get on to the final charges, but this is a direct appeal on behalf of my family. On behalf of my family, we love the United States. I have no future here. It's inevitable. I will be murdered, I will be killed, and I will be imprisoned on Thursday for journalism. We talk about North Korea, we talk about China, we talk about Russia. Our freedoms are gone. Our free speech is gone. It's gone. We live in a post-free speech era. And exactly the same, what they've inflicted in this nation, I know they want to do to yours. I know they want to take your freedoms. They want to change your constitution. I know there's people who would take away your rights tomorrow. The difference is they want to do it to you in America. They've done it to us. They've done it to us. Our free speech is gone, and it's celebrated. It's celebrated by the people in power who rule over us, the globalists. It's celebrated. It's celebrated when a journalist is being imprisoned. The media, they're not journalists, they're activists. The globalist corporate, and they have been used as attack dogs against me. I make this as a direct appeal. I ask American citizens, please make sure somehow, I ask Alex Jones, I ask anyone, make sure this lands on the American government. I know that when I was taken and kidnapped off the street and unlawfully held, which has been proven, I know that congressmen from the Republican Party stepped in. I know that pressure was put on the British government. I'm telling you now, it's not pressure that's needed. I need evacuation out of this country because there are people and dark forces at work in this nation. The same dark forces at work in this nation that want to repel you as the leader of the free world from even entering this country. There are many people in this country who would want to seek the same against you that they seek against me, the same lies that are told about you. I have to fight these lies. I've fought these lies as a young working class man from a town in England. I've had to fight against the labelling, against the stigma, the Nazi, the racist, the fascist, all the words used to destroy a man's reputation. I've had to fight and fight and fight as a single individual. And right now I'm about to be imprisoned. And I'm saying, if you care about freedom like I know you do, I know America loves freedom, I know you'll fight for it and die for it, and so would we. But ours is gone. It's gone. The country's fallen. Everything you've watched, as I go through the details in this case, you will see that every word I'm saying is true. It's factual. They're going against the law of the land. They are not judging or sentencing by the law of the land. And
Tommy, I want you to add just one point. You don't like to talk about yourself. There's hundreds of these videos of them assaulting you and your family in the park, in public. Then the police always come and say, you're the bad guy. You ever talk about how Antifa came to your house saying they're going to attack your family, trying to trick you to defend your family so they can put you back in prison? Tell the president some of the other things they've done to you and your family.
To the president, I have this label. People want to label me with all these different labels. The difference is I walk the streets of the UK. I am as well known in my country, and I'm loved and I'm hated. A very similar situation to you, to Mr. President, to Donald Trump in America. I don't have security. I walk every day on my own. I walk everywhere on my own. I don't have the money to fund a security fund to continue it. You see Nigel Farage in this country. He wouldn't last one day walking the streets. He would not last one day without his protection. I walk them every day. I walk them every single day with conviction and my head held high for what I stand for and for what I want. And I say that everything has been thrown at me. And what I realise now is that my government don't care if the world's watching. They don't care if they're breaking the law. They don't care. And on Thursday, I will be what I'd say is sentenced to death. Every single prison in this country is overrun and controlled by jihadi gangs. By jihadi gangs. I'm saying to the world watching, if this was happening to a journalist in any other country, in China, in Russia, in North Korea, human rights lawyers would be fighting to defend them. Political correctness is that powerful in this country. I can't find a human rights lawyer to defend me or even mention me. Every time we speak to lawyers about anything, as soon as they hear it's my name, no, we walk away. Even getting an affidavit signed last week by a law firm. I went to sign a law firm. When they see it was me, nope. That is the power of political correctness. That is how infected my nation is. And I'm appealing to you directly for help. I'm appealing to you for help on the side of freedom.
Isn't it a shame that such a simple video like this has to be censored in this way? It still might get kicked off YouTube. At first I thought it would be funny to censor it like this, to give everyone a little taste of what the future might look like. Then I realized that I have to actually censor it just like this, because a certain someone and a certain company isn't allowed on YouTube. So I wasn't making a parody of the future. This is what I actually have to do right now. Look, if you believe in freedom, if you believe in freedom of speech, if you believe that Tommy was doing the right thing by warning the general public that their own government was hiding a pedophile ring with 1,400 victims over 15 years and the cops weren't doing anything about it, and they were arresting fathers outside their rape houses when they were in there trying to get their own kids out, if you think he was doing the right thing, then you have to share his plea so maybe the right people hear it, and maybe he won't have to go to jail for reporting on a rape gang. So share this video. Hopefully the right people will see it. As for me, subscribe to this channel. It's my goal to get enough viewers that eventually I get banned from YouTube. And if you think that these people are above putting their own citizens in actual gulags, you got another thing coming. I believe that if they had the power, they would be doing it right now. This is The World According to Tony. I'm Tony, for as long as they'll allow it.